We begin 5 headlines exactly where you expected us to begin, with the UFO hearings on Capitol Hill. The historic hearings, actually historic. In this case, they really are historic. Daily Wire reports lawmakers held an explosive hearing on Wednesday on the topic of UFOs, and things got, well, weird. Appearing before the House Oversight Committee's National Security Subcommittee was David Grush, a former intelligence officer, along with 2 fighter pilots with firsthand unidentified aerial phenomenon experiences. Grush was the star, revealing an alleged top-secret, multi-decade crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, only to be denied access and accusing the military of misappropriating funds. Grush dropped a bombshell about aircraft with non-human origins, complete with biologics recovered from these mysterious crafts. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are now scratching their heads, wondering how in the world or beyond it they should proceed with these astonishing claims. Well, we have, rather than reading the article, I suppose we have some of these clips. And I mean, I prefer to play the whole hearing. It'd be worth our time, but I can't really do that. So I have to boil this down to like 2 or 3 moments that I think are the most important. So we'll start here with Representative Nancy Mace questioning Mr. Grush. And here's how that went. Watch.
Do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, Biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Now, we're going to talk about that, but I want to play all these clips before we talk. So here we have witnesses talking about the technology and capabilities of the UFOs. And by the way, again, these are people who personally witnessed some of these crafts. And not only witnessed it, but we also have video of what they witnessed. This is a fair amount of evidence. But here's what they say.
They move essentially ways in which current technology or aircraft that we know of are unable to actually function or move. And so will you just, for the public record, again, once again, briefly just either describe or note that aircraft that are being witnessed, particularly by the 30 folks that you're working with, are essentially outside the scope of anything that we know of today and the technology we have today. Mr. Graves, Mr. Fravor?
Yes, the objects that are being seen by commercial pilots are performing maneuvers that are unexplainable due to our current understanding of our technology and our capabilities as a country, and that applies for the military as well.
Mr. Fravor?
Yeah, I concur with that. We have nothing that can stop in midair and go the other direction, nor do we have anything that can, like in our situation, come down from space, hang out for 3 hours, and go back up.
Thank you. My last question, and sometimes I know that you have also said some of these answers in the past, but we're trying to get them on the public record as well, which is really important. Mr. Grush, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations.
Okay, so these are, so one thing we hear, the people who want to dismiss what Grush is saying, they'll claim, well, he didn't witness any of this. But of course, if he said he witnessed it, the same people will say, well, we don't trust him, I don't believe. So like, no matter what he said, it wouldn't make a difference to them. What you do have flanking him, though, on either side are people who did witness some things. And it's not like those who are skeptical of Grush and say he did witness it. It's not like they are listening to the other two and saying, well, I believe them. So again, if you're starting from the position that all of this is somehow impossible or you refuse to believe it, then there is nothing anyone could ever say, and there is no evidence anyone could ever present that you would find compelling. And there are a lot of people in that camp. And if you're in that camp, at least admit it. At least admit that it's just, rather than saying, I don't try, the evidence is, it's not enough evidence. No, there is no evidence that you would find compelling. Because in this case, we have videos, we have eyewitness testimony, we have and it's eyewitness testimony from all kinds of different people, right? Actual expert eyewitness testimony. By expert, I don't mean expert in the sense that we hear trust the experts, but experts as in Navy pilots who understand how aircraft work. And it's their whole job to go up and identify things that are happening in the sky and potential threats and all that. So like actual experts in that sense. We have those kinds of witnesses. We have lots of normal people who've seen things. So when you've got video, when you've got eyewitness testimony, it's evidence. And there's a lot of both of those things. Finally, have there been any non-human technologies or interactions that have caused harm to humans? That was a question that was asked, and let's hear.
So there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
Okay, now a few things here. First, if you cannot at least appreciate the fact that we're having this congressional hearing about non-human technology in the sky, then I don't know what to say. There were a bunch of people on social media yesterday that I saw that were saying this is all boring. It's boring. I'm so bored. My God, you dull nitwits. Really, this subject is boring? I've seen the subjects that you people find interesting, okay? I've seen the kinds of things that you people talk about for days on end. And this is boring to you? Compared to all the other things that are discussed on social media every day, this is what you find boring? You've got these right-wing pundits, I've seen plenty of them, who go on for days and days about the same damn thing, repeating the same talking points over and over again. Just an insatiable appetite for the most boring, mundane, dreary, useless conversation. And yet a congressional hearing where a witness testifies to the existence of non-human technology is boring? Even if you think it's all fake, by the way. If you think it's all fake, it's still not boring. Like, it's interesting. Okay, it's either way, this is easily the most interesting thing that's happened in Washington, D.C., maybe since ever. So if what they're testifying to is true, that's fascinating. If this is all some kind of insane, elaborate ruse, that's also fascinating and certainly worth talking about. So it's boring stuff, it blows my mind. I just don't get it. I really don't. I love anything made with top-of-the-line quality, and for meat, that is Good Ranchers. The only thing missing is a pork box. Well, if you ask for it, they deliver. Good Ranchers has just launched their Prime Pork, 100% American pork that is steakhouse quality. This new pork box comes with bone-in and boneless pork chops, sausage, smoked brats, and more. Plus, right now, you'll get $30 off with my code Walsh at goodranchers.com. On their site, you can explore their all-American cuts of prime pork, prime beef, better than organic chicken options. If you've tried their beef and chicken before, then you know how amazing it is. You have to try this prime pork at least once. Trust me, they've got genuinely great products and top-tier customer service. So what are you waiting for? Enjoy real meat and real service today with Good Ranchers. Visit goodranchers.com. Use my code Walsh for $30 off any box. That's promo code Walsh at goodranchers.com. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. We're days away from the Durban Accords, the greatest threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance in the past 80 years. On August 22nd, BRICS nations are expected to announce the launch of a new international supercurrency fully backed by gold or other commodities. This is part of their long-term plan to supplant America and the dollar as cornerstones of the global financial system. You can protect your IRA or 401k from the fallout of this landmark announcement by diversifying with gold from Birch Gold. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which is right now. When currencies fail, gold is a safe haven. How much more time does the dollar have? Well, you can protect your savings with gold. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of happy customers. You can find out why by texting Walsh to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold. If a central bank digital currency becomes a reality, it'll be nice to have some gold to depend on. Again, text Walsh to 989898. Okay, so then that raises the question of whether or not this is all fake. And if it is, then why? And don't tell me it's a distraction technique. Don't tell me that. I've already addressed that many times, okay? You know what I'm going to say. The claim that all this is one big distraction, it's one big diversion, is simply nonsensical because, first of all, it does not distract. Nobody cares. They should, but they don't. So it is not a successful distraction technique. Why would they keep doing it? To distract when it is actually not distracting anybody. Okay, this UFO hearing happened it was trending sort of for a few hours on Twitter, and then it went away and no one talked about it anymore. So, and you're saying they're doing all of this. This is one giant conspiracy to distract us. And what, the people that are doing, they don't notice that it's not working and they keep doing it? Second, as I've said many times, they don't need to make up aliens to distract us. We are already distracted. We already ignore most of the most important things happening in the world. We already move on from things at the speed of light. We have the attention spans of plankton already. And third, if the government would use aliens to distract us, why did they deny all of this for decades? There was plenty that they would have wanted to distract us from in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000s and 2010s, and yet they denied. And then just out of nowhere, they decided to start distracting us with this, even though it's not distracting, but it should. That brings me to my next point, which is that if your skepticism of government is informing your view on this stuff, which I understand, then that should cause you to take the UFO subject more seriously, not less. The government has officially denied all of this forever, and they still do. These are whistleblowers who are coming out, okay? These are, and it's only a few of them. The predominant government narrative since forever, and still now, is that there are no UFOs. We don't need to think about it. Nothing to see here. This is what the government has always said about all of this. And this is still basically their response. They've obliquely acknowledged a little bit of this now, only because they're forced to. And we've seen, recent history has shown us many examples of things that were dismissed as conspiracy theories and crazy and not even worth thinking about. And then they turn out to be true. And then the same government officials who denied all of it will turn around and say, maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know. It's not because the government decided to start being honest, but because their hand was forced. Because the truth came out and they had no choice but they couldn't keep just flat out denying it. So you could say, well, this is a big distraction. It's not distracting us at all, but that's what it is. So that could be your theory. Another theory is that, a theory to explain why did they deny, and now, we're getting hearings about it. Another explanation is that they denied forever because they could, because we didn't have the internet, and there was really no way, if somebody saw something, there was no way to prove it. It was also for many decades while this was going on, people weren't carrying cell phones around in their pockets and that sort of thing. But now, with modern technology and modern communication, we can start seeing things and spreading information in a way that we couldn't before. And so now they have no choice but to at least pretend to acknowledge some of this. I mean, that's another way of explaining the contrast in how these issues have been handled now versus then. So what does all this mean? It means, first of all, this is interesting. And if you don't find it interesting, you should. You're just wrong. You're wrong to not find it interesting. It's objectively wrong. And what does it actually mean? What are the origins of these things that are in the sky? I don't know exactly, but there is enough evidence at a minimum to say that something is going on. Okay, these crafts that are in the sky that can do things that to us seem impossible, that defy the laws of physics, like traveling at many hundreds of miles of an hour and then stopping on a dime in the middle of the air and changing direction, that sort of thing. That is happening. There are things in the sky that are doing all of that. And what that means is that someone possesses that technology, and if you don't even want to consider the possibility that it could be otherworldly, then you're left with, there are governments on Earth that have technology that defies the laws of physics as we understand it, and are eons ahead of us in their technological capabilities. Which is also interesting if that's the case. It's not boring, certainly not. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.